have a crack.
Vincent shoots and he scores! Vincent tripped up a bit, advantage continues on. His shot, he scored! It's Rob Vincent! Yes!
What a brilliant goal!
Saw you walking down our street. Well, you look like me.
Oh, Vincent knocks it in right along the ground, and he's tackled in front of the Steel Army.
What happened to the attitude you used to have at school?
No, it's hard to put my finger on. It's obviously never known any different. You know, you obviously see some of the rivalries, your Rangers Celtic, where it's, you know, there's a fierce rivalry among, you know, people living on the same street. But no, Everton and Liverpool, it's always, you know, it is pretty friendly. You know, you've got your friends at school support different teams, your friends who you play with on your team support different teams. But when it comes to Derby Day, I guess you just kind of flick a switch. But even in the stadiums, you know, even in Goodison and Anfield on Derby Day, you have Reds sitting with Blues. So yeah, I don't know what it is. It doesn't mean we want to win any less. You know, everyone still wants to win and still wants to have those bragging rights for the next few months. But yeah, it is. It's a relatively friendly derby. There's no real problems, I don't think, at any of the games. So no, it was good growing up though, having my brother being a Red and having that little bit of rivalry on Derby Day. Yeah, I do remember ROONEY being talked about a lot when I was only with Everton probably 2.5, 3 years, but I remember even then when he was probably about 13, 14, and there was already a hype getting created around him, which when you're that young is a little bit strange when they're talking about, you know, a guy who's only 4 or 5 years older than you, being touted as the next, you know, first team star. And his brother was in my team as well, so his brother John was in the same age group as me. And I was, you know, good friends with him. So it was certainly a little bit strange. But obviously after I left Everton and moved on, ROONEY just kept progressing and broke into the first team and then got his big move to Man United. So just as a young lad from Liverpool, it just kind of let you know that can happen if you keep working hard. And, you know, obviously ROONEY's a bit of an anomaly in terms of just the outstanding progress he's made. But it certainly just shows you that you can make it as a pro from a young lad from Liverpool and go all the way through an academy system and make it out the other side. A club with a real reputation for bringing through not necessarily the best players in the country, but just regularly bringing through good players. So the likes of Danny Murphy, who plays for Liverpool, Robbie Savage, who had a long career in the Premiership, Dean Ashton, Rob Hulse. So just good, solid players who came through. And that was probably the time in my career where I've learned the most. So I was there for about 5 years. And just the intense, technical-based sessions that we used to get. So I used to train there twice a week. And Dario Gradi was obviously a big part of that academy system. But the coaches they had there as well were impressive. So they had Ray Walker, who played for Aston Villa. Steve Holland was a coach of mine. He's now the assistant coach at Chelsea alongside Jose Mourinho. And then they used to have first team players who'd come down and, you know, coach, just kind of like we do at the Riverhounds now, first team guys coming down. So Kenny Lunt, James Collins, Neil Critchley, again, guys who aren't massive names in the game, but just their experience and working with those players from like 9, 10, 11 years old. It was just a really great environment to learn in. And I played with some really good players there. Again, guys in my team are playing in the Championship, the Premiership now. Yeah, at that age, I just really admired those first team guys. I mean, you're 10, 11 years old and you're looking at this guy who's, you know, only 20, 21 years old, but he's playing in the first team week in, week out. And again, it's just that image that you can say, like, that's what's possible. You know, he's doing it, so why can't I? And I don't really know if that was what made me want to go into coaching when I was older, but it was just, like I say, I looked up to those players now, so hopefully the kids in the Riverhounds Academy can look up at me and say, you know, if I listen to Rob and take on, you know, any advice that he's got, you know, maybe he can help me to become a pro one day. And I still remember the day that I got the email from Charleston, and it was just, the coach came across really well. He really wanted to know a lot about me, and he was a pretty young coach. So I thought, like, this might be something that I really want to pursue. But yeah, at the time, you kind of just Google Charleston, West Virginia, and you try and look it up a little bit. But it all seemed to happen so quick. I mean, I first got the email in about May. I think this is after I'd already been told I wasn't getting a professional contract at Stockport. And by August, you know, I'm flying out to Charleston, West Virginia, a little place in the middle of nowhere, to start preseason with my new team. So it was certainly strange, but I believe everything happens for a reason. I'd finished my degree after 3.5 years, so I had, you know, 6 months left on my visa. It was like, you've got to go and find a team now. So just emailing USL teams, and fortunately Pittsburgh were one of the teams that got back to me, invited me in, not even for preseason, just to come in the couple of weeks before preseason, where the guys are starting to come back into town and just play in five-a-side together. So I asked if I could come along, joined in, and Justin Evans was the coach at the time with John Rotts, and they just said, you know, we like what we've seen over these last few days, so just come back in for preseason. And you know, went from there. I gave a decent account to myself in preseason, and they offered me a contract. So, you know, that was a dream come true for me. You know, signing my first professional contract, albeit 4 years late, but that was just the chance I needed to really step on my game. When Mark came in, I decided in my own head that I wanted to go back into centre midfield, play that holding role, be that deep line playmaker, almost where Gerard's playing, you know, right now. But I guess Mark just seen it, you know, differently. You know, he wanted to put me out on the left, and he said, you know, I think you can be dangerous cutting in, using your right foot. I'd scored a couple of goals in pre-season when we were just training, and that carried over into the pre-season games. So it just stuck, and he just left me out there. But yeah, I can't really put my finger on why I've had this explosion of goals, but I think maybe just the confidence that Mark has in me. He gives me a lot of freedom. Still wants me to defend all the time, but making sure that when we go forward that I'm always there, giving support. But I think confidence is a huge part of it as well. You know, that opening night where I scored the first goal inside, you know, 5 or 6 minutes, the feeling, you know, going into half-time in that game, thinking, yeah, I've scored on the opening day, like that for me was a fantastic feeling. And then I had another one late in that game. So you're one game into the season, you've scored 2 goals, and you start thinking to yourself, maybe I can score a few this year. And I always set my goal at 10 goals for the season, and obviously only got 3 in the previous 2 seasons. So this season I really wanted to try and burst out and get as many as I could, and they just kind of kept coming. They came in twos as well. So I think, you know, I had 8 after about 7 or 8 games, and then you start setting your targets a little bit higher. Can I get 15? And now I'm at the point where I'm saying, can I get 20? So hopefully there's a couple more to come this season, but if not, it's still been a good season for me. I think we're a team that's built for the playoffs now. Back in my first season when we made the playoffs, you know, we got in as outsiders, and I don't think anyone really seen us as contenders for really getting anywhere near to that USL title. But I think this year, if we can sneak in, and it's going to be tough, but I think if we can sneak into the playoffs, there's every chance that we can put a run together. I think the only thing we need to do now is to add a little bit of consistency. I don't think we've won more than 2 games on the run all season. And obviously, if you're going to win a USL championship, you have to win 3 on the run at least. So, yeah, just fighting out these last 5 games, and just being consistent, you know, making sure that we don't have any off games. We've had too many off games this year where we've dropped points that could be crucial come the end of the season. So really just knuckling down and making sure we put 5 good games in over the next month, And then if we do make the playoffs, you know, anything can happen.